Hi, I'm Risma Maulina. Today I'm going to talk about translation material, which is types and method of translation. There are 6 types of translation. There are word-for-word translation, literal translation, adaptation, free translation, idiomatic translation, and communicative translation. Uh, the translation method, Peter Newmark divided it into two main groups of translation methods. The first method that emphasis on source language, and the second emphasize on target language. In the first method, there are word-for-word translation, literal translation, faithful translation, and semantic translation, while in the second method, such as adaptation, free translation, idiomatic translation, and communicative translation, but now I will focus on communicative translation. Communicative translation attempts to render the exact contextual meaning of the original in such way that both language and content are readily acceptable and comprehensible to the reader. It is particularly suitable when translating conventional formulas or proverbs, and it involves some levels of cultural approximation. Communicative translation aspires to create the same effect created by the source language text on the target language reader. For example, keep the grass. The result of the communicative translation is dilarang berjalan di atas rumput. The communicative translation fall for to the target language reader and should change it become structure that not only acceptable in target language but also flexible and elegant. Then the concept of communicative translation was proposed by Peter Newmark. He admitted it is as the most important contribution in the translation theories. It is likely to be smoother, simpler, clearer, and more direct, more conventional, conforming to a particular register of language, tending to under-translate, hold all terms in difficult passage. Communicative translation attempts to produce on its reader an effect as close as possible to that obtained on the readers of the original. As an example, the source language is English. I will read it. When anyone opens a current account at a bank, he is lending the bank money, repayment of which he may demand at any time, or either in cash or by drawing a check in favor of another person. Primarily, the banker-customer relationship is that of debtor and creditor, depending on whether the customer account is in credit or is overdrawn. Then the result of communicative translation as follows, become translated into bahasa Indonesia become apabila seseorang membuka rekening baru pada sebuah bank, maka berarti ia meminjamkan uang kepada bank yang pengembaliannya dapat ia lakukan sewaktu-waktu, baik dalam bentuk tunai maupun berupa penarikan cek yang diperuntukkan bagi orang lain. Pada pokoknya, hubungan bankir nasabah merupakan hubungan debitor dan kreditor, tergantung apakah rekening nasabah tersebut berupa kredit ataukah debit. In this case, we take the method of translation, namely literal translation and communicative translation. In literal translation, usually the result of translation still translated word for word. As the result, it creates the certain word or sentence from the source language still unacceptable to the target language. For example, the word current in the first sentence, literally it translates become catatan arus. Of course, it is not suitable to the context of the text. It can be seen clearly in the sentence, apabila seseorang membuka suatu catatan arus dalam sebuah bank. It feels so stiff and unacceptable. But let's see to the communicative one. The word current translated become rekening. So it becomes acceptable between source language, and target language, like in this complete sentence. Apabila seseorang membuka rekening baru pada sebuah bank, and also the word customer that literally still translated pelanggan, whereas it will be more communicative translated become nasabah. Communicative translation tries to create an effect that experienced by reader of target language same within the source language. Therefore, there is no part of translation that difficult to be understood and feel stiff. In this translation, the translator can correct or repair logic of source language sentences, replace stiff words, and structure with the flexible and elegant one. Omit unclear sentences, omit repetition, and modify jargon usage. The characteristic of communicative translation are reader-centered, easy reading, more natural, smoother, simpler, clearer, more direct, more conventional, maybe better than the original because gain in force and clarity despite loss in semantic content. And then target language biased and less powerful. I think that's enough from me. That's all from me. Thanks for watching.